Hello, everyone, and welcome to Artist Alchemy. I am Alex Cecina, and next to me I have Ash Arroyo. And other side, I never get used to this mirroring thing. I keep trying to go this way because that's where you are on my screen. Hey, but here we are for another wonderful round of Artist Alchemy. I'm super excited to get started talking to Ash. Their art is absolutely phenomenal, and we're going to get to talking about that. So, Ash, welcome to the show.
Hi, happy to be here.
Yay! Oh my gosh. So, Ash, for those who don't know, you just give like a quick introduction about like what it is in a general sense that you do.
I make short little humor comics on Instagram. Sometimes I make more illustrated works, but that's essentially what I do.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. So, I loved it. I was searching through your Instagram and it was like super cool to kind of see that. And I was like, oh, I got stories to read now. So yeah, that was awesome. So just the general question that we like to ask everyone kind of as we're going through here. What's your life like during COVID right now?
Quiet. I live in a house with a lot of people, so maybe not as quiet as other people's houses are actually, now that I think about it. It's just generally very slow. I mean,
Okay.
I imagine a lot of people feel the same way.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, have you found that having this time has increased your productivity in like art wise or
Honestly, it's actually decreased the
oh,
activity. Funnily enough,
interesting.
you would think.
Yeah,
Uh,
why do you think that is?
I think it's just the lack of like a different environment to go to. Like I can't really go to the cafe or anything to hang out, you
Mm,
know. I think
yeah.
those small experiences are very important to my artistic process anyway.
I love that. Cool. Yeah, we'll definitely dive into that a little bit more here as we kind of go along. But that's interesting to hear. You know, you get different vibes from people like, "Oh yeah, my art has flourished because I have just had time to sit there and draw a line each day," or you know, stuff like that. So, cool. So, let's talk a little bit about where your art comes from, what your influences were. So, like, what where did like all this start for you? What was like your early like upbringing to like get you into art?
Well, I mean, on Cartoon Network, they always used to air anime like Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon, and I think that that's where my original inspiration with that kind of style started. Um, I was kind of just enamored with it, I guess. And I would doodle Ash, catch him and everything in my notebook and everything.
That's awesome. Wow. So definitely like a heavy anime style. Did you since I mean you obviously did it at an early age, but like as you kind of went into school, did you find a lot of encouragement from your teachers?
Yeah, yeah, actually like my friend and I used to draw like a stick figure comic that we would share among our classmates in middle
Oh,
school. And my teachers kind of just let me draw during the class period. As long as I got my work done anyway.
that's right. That's cool. Yeah. So you guys so your comic like ideas basically started kind of early.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
they did.
Yeah. What do you think those early comics were kind of about? Do you have any remembrance of all of like what those were?
Honestly, a lot of them were like references to TV shows. My friend and I would just kind of like plagiarize like our like a joke or something from a cartoon. But but like we had fun. We had fun. We were dumb 11-year-olds.
Hey, I mean, who wasn't, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
when you were 11? No, okay, so right now we have one of your comics that you drew more recently, obviously. This if this was you at 11, I can only imagine. No, yeah, and so Pokemon obviously was a heavy influence.
Yeah,
It's a Pikachu.
Pokemon's great.
Yeah, no, I mean, I grew up on that anime myself, you know. Um, gosh, it was just I what do you think drew you to Pokemon so much?
I don't
Or
know. I
just
guess it's just the
yeah.
cute characters and like the humor of it, you know? I
Yeah.
mean, who doesn't want to be like a 10-year-old roaming around the world unsupervised?
Yeah, so that's really cool. Yeah, so you kind of drew influence from Pokemon obviously as you can see here. What about like you said other cartoons like or anime like Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z? Did you watch that type of stuff? Cuz those like yes, they're all anime, right? But they're very different.
Honestly, I think I was more into Sailor Moon than Dragon Ball Z.
I don't blame
I
you.
just the pretty girls, awesome magic transformations. And as I got older and kind of understood what was happening, I really liked the emotional arc that was
Hmm,
going on.
cool. That's awesome. Yeah. So I mean, let's talk about that for a hot second. Just like people look at anime, right? And they think it's for kids. But there's so much more to it. And what do you really think
I
uh
think
anime is about?
I think anime in general, like there's a lot of different shows that cater to different audiences and different age ranges. But even if it is just for kids, I don't think that necessarily means that it's bad or it has no value. I mean, I think a lot of things that are made for kids nowadays are really complex and interesting and well done.
Mm, yeah. I mean, I think we see that a lot in cartoons nowadays. Do you watch Steven Universe? You a fan of that?
Yeah, yeah, I watched Steven Universe.
Yeah, me too. I'm such a big fan. I just recently rewatched it, but I think tackling complex issues like that is kind of cool, right?
Yeah, yeah, I definitely think so. And I mean, I feel like I kind of like that too because as a kid, I often felt patronized by a lot of shows.
Mm,
Like I'm not like I know things. I'm not a dumb person, you know?
yeah, yeah. So it kind of takes that level of like depth and just kind of gives it to a kid in like a way that they can understand it almost.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you kind of used anime as kind of like an early influence. What about like as you've gone into like high school and stuff like that? Tell me about your arc past that.
Well, I mean, I think I draw not just from like different comics, but there are a few like novels that I can think of, like His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman or
Yeah,
House Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. Like, I think just the storytelling and the writing and the characters in those specific novels, they meant a lot to me in early high school, and I think they definitely have influenced my work now and the kind of things I like writing about, like fantasy and whatnot.
yeah, cool. So obviously you're a big fan of like high fantasy stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. So does your art and comics kind of reflect that, or is it more realistic?
I think it does. Like I tend to like make fantasy stories that are I guess a bit more modern
Okay.
with more modern influence to it. Like there's refrigerators and stuff, but I think at the core of it, it is like this high fantasy stuff that's going on.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So when you were in like taking classes, did you take any art classes or is it just kind of
I've
you
taken
doing what you do?
I've taken a couple of art classes here and there, but
Yeah.
like the ones I took in high school obviously was more just like a glorified study hall.
Yeah. So what about did you feel like influenced by like learning from those art classes or was it more like this is something that I can take a technique from and kind of put it into my work, but I don't need to draw like Picasso or something?
I think it was more just like that period where like it was more just the time allotted that those classes give you and
Okay.
just the practice of it. So I would definitely say like technique wise, it was important for me, but not necessarily like what I would do usually, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. So you definitely you're definitely a fan of like taking what you've learned and you've implemented it in some way, not necessarily like to its full effect, but just to
Yeah.
some degree, right? Yeah, cool. That's awesome. So tell me a little bit more since we've kind of covered high fantasy now. Tell me a little bit more about like how high fantasy you get in your comics here. Is it full on like they're throwing fireballs at each other, or is it more just like magical things happen?
Honestly, weirdly enough, I think it's a mix of the two because
Oh,
there's fireball throwing, but also there's just like this weird mystical stuff that happens in the background that's
cool.
just kind of there and no one comments on it.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I like that. So it's kind of like they just kind of grew up in that realm and it's just kind of normalcy, right? So they don't even think about it.
that's what I try to do in my stories. Like I try to make it like the magic is like it's normal to them. It's boring even. Like
Yeah.
if you're in that kind of environment, why would you think it's anything special?
Yeah, that's cool. That's very, very cool. Was there any specific influence for that, or you just kind of like that's kind of just the world that you wanted to set it in?
That's kind of just the world I wanted to create.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. So tell me a little bit more about like where when you're doing comics, where do you even begin? Because for me, like when I'm creating a story, I generally have like the beginning and the end, but like the middle parts for me are the hardest part. And I feel like that's where like comics lie is like they're not the beginning or the end. They're like here's what's actually happening and I'm like that's hard for me. So what do you what's your influences and how do you draw inspiration?
well, on what you just mentioned is a big problem I have. I always come up at the beginning and the end, and then I'm like, what do I do in the middle? um, but generally, like when I'm coming up with ideas for characters or plot, I honestly just draw from my real life and people I've known and the experiences that they've had and I've had, and I kind of go from there.
Cool. So are any of your characters based on Shantae then?
I'm not at liberty to say.
I won't I won't divulge any further than cool.
I think she knows who's kind of I've taken when I've taken things from her because I've taken direct quotes from my sister at times.
I love that. Here's a good question that was asked. Do you have any other styles of art that you do, like portraits or abstracts, or is it just
Um,
just more comic type stuff?
I do other things occasionally. Like I do acrylic portraits sometimes, or like I like do ink drawings that are kind of more abstract, or like doodles with my pencil. Um, but mainly I kind of like work making these kind of comics. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, look
Like
at that. Yeah, you got some. Yeah, it's got some really good stuff here. So I see a bunch of different influences when I see these different pictures that you've drawn. I just like you can definitely tell like with the big eyes that it's definitely got that anime and manga style. Um, but just tell me like is that something that you generally do like just because you like the style or is it developed because of like a feeling towards the character or something?
honestly, I just like the way big eyes look. I think it's very cute.
Well, I mean,
uh,
hey, if you can draw eyes, that's a huge plus. I know that's a huge issue for a lot of artists is like the feeling of the eyes.
mhm.
So how do you draw inspiration for that? How do you get those just right?
For the eyes
Yeah.
specifically.
So it's just eyes specifically. I know me personally, whenever I'm drawing, like I will literally first off, I'm not an artist, but I will literally do every other part. And then when it gets to the eyes, I'm just like, well, I'm done with this.
I guess I mean the eyes are kind of different for each character. Like more big eyes are usually like more innocent, and then more like narrow eyes are usually more like serious and a focused kind of character. It depends
Okay.
on like the design I'm trying to go for.
Cool. I love that. And I mean, I just love these different things. Do you do mostly color or black and white?
I prefer black and white, but like in recent
Oh,
years, I've been forcing myself to work more with color, so I'm good at it.
I mean, no, but like there's like a that's an interesting thing in and of itself. Why do you think you prefer black and white over color?
I mean I grew up kind of just like doodling with my pencil on notebook paper, so I never once thought about color. So it's easier for me to just think in like grayscale and black and white than to apply to like, okay, what color is her hair now?
Hmm, that's really cool. So tell me about like this picture specifically. Is this one of the characters from your comic?
Yes, this is the main character actually.
Oh, and what's their name?
Equinox.
Equinox. Love that. And kind of tell me a little bit about Equinox's story, just for the viewers to kind of like get a interest in maybe viewing your comic.
Well, his story specifically is about he's the reincarnation of like a god, and a lot of people are mad at him because of stuff he did in his past life, and he's just not interested in dealing with it. And that's kind of the gist of it, really.
No, that's very interesting. I mean, if I had a past life and I didn't want to deal with it, I'd just be like, especially if I was a god, I'd just be like, eh. Is he a very whimsical character, or?
Yeah, I would say he's whimsical.
All
He
right.
does whatever he wants, pretty much.
Love that. Got to live that chaotic life, right? All right, awesome. Yeah, and I mean, there's just so much good stuff that you've done. So tell me about some other anime influences that you might have had. I know you said early on there were those, but in recent years, are there any things that have like drawn your eye?
I mean, I would say yes. I think just 90s and 80s anime in general. I really love
Okay.
the style of those, like Ranma One Half and Inuyasha. And I think even in middle school, my friend and I, we were really into the Fruits Baskets manga. So
Okay.
we like spent we like she would buy one novel and then I would buy the next one, and like we would share it between us.
Oh, that's so
Um,
fun.
yeah, it was really weird. I don't even know how we ended up in that arrangement.
Somehow it works, right?
Somehow, yeah.
If it ain't broke. No, I
Um,
definitely see those influences there. Oh, I love your signature too, by the way.
yeah, I hear a lot of people tell me that. It's just my initials, AJA.
Yeah, but it's really cool looking. So
Thank you.
yeah, I mean, if you didn't know that though, it literally looks like it could be like a character from another language.
I can see that. It's very
Yeah,
like geometric.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if I looked at that, I could think it was something from like Sanskrit or something, or even some form of kanji from from Japanese stuff. So yeah, that's cool. I love that. So you've definitely got those influences. Now, tell me, do you watch a lot of Studio Ghibli?
Oh yeah, yeah, I do. Obviously, I mentioned the novel of House Moving Castle,
Right.
but what got me into that was the movie.
Okay.
I that it's such a good movie.
Yeah.
So
Now,
pretty.
oh yeah. Well, I mean, you definitely see like a bit of the same styling that you do. But I think it's just so interesting to like think that both the styling of your art and Studio Ghibli are like in the same genre, and they're just two different things. Like both are extremely good. They're just two different styles. So what do you think about like the Studio Ghibli style?
I think it's fantastic. If anything, like I feel like I aspire to be as good because, like, I mean, the animation, like the expression, even just the hair flowing up of when a character gets shocked. There's so much that goes into it. It's just gorgeous to look at.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. All right, so here's something though. Um, have you heard that recently Studio Ghibli might be going into computer animated movies?
Yeah, I think I have.
Yeah.
It's always a bit sad when like the hand drawn animation gets pushed out,
Well, that was going
but
to be my question for you. How do you feel about like them transitioning to that, even if it is just for one movie? What are your
I
thoughts?
mean, I just kind of makes me sad. It's not that like computer generated animation is bad, but I just feel like there aren't enough studios that do that hand drawn stuff, you
Mm,
know?
mm. Why do you think it would be important to keep hand drawn going?
Because it's there's something special about it. It's different, you know? And I feel like I would just hate to see it die.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Being a musical person, like I love records. Like nobody listens to records anymore. Everything's and there's like a file on YouTube now that you can like pull or Spotify. But like when I listen to a record, I think the feeling and the sound is so much different, right? So it's kind of
Yeah.
like along those same lines of like you saying hand drawn versus computer. Like there's just something in it. It's not necessarily better. It just has a life to it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ugh.
it's almost like a whole different genre, really. I feel
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, expand on that. Why do you think,
Well,
what do you think makes them so different?
I don't know. I just like, because it's like I don't want to like diss computer animation either, but
Right.
I just feel like there's more expression in like how an artist draws in a hand drawn animation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's cool to see that life and like to take it from pencil. I
Yeah.
think something, especially for like someone like you. Here's a question. So like, how hard is it to figure out the next movement for a character in your pieces? So like, what I'm saying is like, you've got one block, right, where it's a scene, and then you have the next scene. How hard is it for you to figure out like, this is where they're moving next, this is where their hand would be? Like for me, like I'd want to see so much in between, but obviously you can't put out a whole entire thing without it becoming like a move or like a flip book or something at that point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I kind of see like what's happening in the script in my head as if like these characters are actors on a stage. So that is always difficult, like trying to crop the movement in such a way that like
Mm.
it's telling this story in as little panels as possible.
Right.
And I mean, there's also the issue of like, how do I frame this? Like, how far away should I draw them, or should it be like from an upper view or from a below view, or there's so much that goes into even just one panel. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's so interesting. So like, when you start to picture that stuff, do you let it like freeze frame in your mind, or is it like continuously still moving when you start drawing it?
It's continuously moving in my head, and so
Wow.
it's difficult to like pin down like where should this hand be.
Wow. Yeah, that would be so hard. Like I'd almost have to have like a snapshot in order to be like, all right, this is it. And then like basically trace over from my head onto the paper. But that's so
Oh,
interesting
if
that it
only.
continues. Right. I mean, I'm sure it's different for everyone. But that's so interesting to think like it's just going in your head. That's, getting the insight into an artist's head right now. That's so cool. So do you do any, going back a little bit, backtracking just a touch, do you do any, digital work yourself, or is it all hand drawn?
Digital work as in just drawn on the computer.
I mean, yeah, I guess, you don't necessarily like, I don't know. Let's leave that open. Do you do work where it's the work that you present is all completely as the finished product just from your hand, or do you use the computer to like touch it up or draw on the computer?
I mean, it's different for each work. I mean, sometimes I do touch up on a traditional piece on my computer, or sometimes it'll just be completely on the computer, and sometimes it's just that's what it looks like in real life.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
I try not to box myself in when it comes to that sort of thing, because I feel like both of those kinds of art have stuff to offer me,
Okay.
and I like how they both look.
Yeah. Do you find yourself gravitating to one more than the other still, or?
I would say it's about 50-50.
Okay.
Yeah, 50-50.
50-50. I mean, it's a good split. Leave it there. No, that's awesome. But I just love, that's so cool that you have that like difference in like hand drawn, but you're not necessarily like, I only do hand drawn, like that type of thing.
I mean, I just feel like there's value in both, and it's important to learn both.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very cool. So when you do the comics, obviously since you're doing it on Instagram, you don't necessarily have like the same issue that a comic in a newspaper would have, where you only have 3 blocks, right, to present your entire point.
Mhm.
You kind of have a little bit more free form. You can create a slightly bigger block. It's a bit more like manga, I would say, right? Is
Yeah.
that right to say it's more like manga than like a comic?
I would say that it's probably a bit similar in
If
that
that's not how
way.
you would qualify your own work, don't I would not be the one to tell you how to say what your work
I mean,
is.
I've never thought about it, to be honest. Like I've never thought about like, is it closer to this or that? It's just
Yep.
kind of like its own thing.
It's your own work. And you know what? We're not going to label it. Doesn't need that, right?
Yeah.
No, that's cool. So but since you presented on Instagram, What do you find are the greatest challenges there?
I mean, you are limited to nine pictures, or 10 actually now, and
Hey, an extra picture.
the quality always degrades a bit, and
Okay.
I always worry like, can someone actually read what this text says? Is it too small? And then trying to figure out the balance of that, and then of course the image sizes.
Mm.
It's best in square, but there are a few other sizes they offer now, but not always. So there's a lot to think about on terms of that.
No, that's very interesting to think about. Just because, like, when we think about comics, for the most part, someone a bit older or even myself, I think of comics and I think like either a comic book or something that I'm going to get in a newspaper, right? So, like, to think of publishing comics and having them on like a digital platform like this, I find it very interesting. What do you think? Do you see other things like this where people are presenting comics or?
Yeah, I do. There's a lot of Instagram comics. A lot of people like they almost use the description along with the picture to continually tell their story, and it's really weird. Like you just have
Oh,
to see it to understand what I mean. But like
okay.
there's a lot of comments on Instagram that kind of take that route, and it's kind of become like its own thing, which I find really interesting.
Yeah, it's like a subgenre of Instagram almost. Comic gram,
Yeah.
Insta comic. There's something there. No, that's very interesting to think about. But yours are not quite in that same format though. Yours more freestanding comics, or is there an overriding story arc that like you have to like tune in to every comic to kind of get?
Well, I would hope to eventually make a comic that has more of a story arc, but right now they're kind of just like most of them are just standalone. Sometimes they'll reference each other, and it might, you might get the joke better if you know who the characters are, but for the most part, it's mostly standalone little bits here and there.
Cool. Yeah, no, that's awesome. You got all different types of comics out there, so it's kind of interesting to see that. Let's actually take a look at some of that work, and I'd love it if you could introduce your characters to the audience on Facebook and kind of so they can kind of meet and see everyone. Did you meet? If
Uh,
Shantae's, yeah, I think Shantae's pulling those up right now. There they are. So who do we have here?
that's the same guy as before
Oh, it is.
Equinox. He's
I
a bit
see.
older, so he has longer hair to show
Ah,
the passage of time.
hey, all right. I dig it. Long hair, don't care. Grow it out. Feeling it. And what's that? What's up with the butterflies?
I think butterflies are really pretty.
Okay, I didn't know if it was like his god thing or something. Like if he was the god of butterflies beforehand or something.
I mean, I guess that definitely adds to that kind of element, but like honestly, I just think they're pretty.
Hey, stick with it. I love it. I also love the color that you use on this. Actually, just
The
like
rainbow gradient that's
yeah,
going down.
yeah, it's very very cool.
Yeah,
I'd
I
watch
really like
this.
this piece.
Yeah, I'd watch this. And I believe in the future we will create together.
That's a Sailor Moon quote.
See, I wish I'd watched more Sailor Moon. And then what's underneath that? What is that script?
That's kind of like a secret language that I came up with. I'm not going to tell you what it says.
Secret language. That's awesome. Did you come up with the script yourself too?
uh, yes.
Wow.
I have a ton of them actually.
Oh wow. You just like you got like multiple secret languages just kind of going on.
Yep.
Nice. With all their own pronunciations and everything, like all in your head?
I am trying to nail that down actually, but creating
Okay.
a language is very difficult. I don't know if you know
Yes.
this.
Well, we were just talking earlier about how weird English actually is and too many grammatical rules. We should stick to another language that's a little bit simpler, right?
Yeah.
So are you kind of sticking to that with your languages, trying to be like, we're just going to make this nice and easy on everyone?
Yes, I am trying to. Sometimes I get needlessly complicated with it though, but I
I
really
mean,
shouldn't.
I mean, don't we all get needlessly complicated with our own creations sometimes?
I mean,
Cool. Now, who do we have here?
this is Solstice. She's a bounty hunter.
Oh,
I put in bounty hunters because I was really obsessed with Star Wars at one point. So,
a big fan of The Mandalorian.
yeah, I love that show. It's
Oh,
really
so
good.
plus who doesn't love Baby Yoda?
True. He's adorable.
Which isn't Yoda, but it's still Baby Yoda. Anyway. No, this is awesome. So what was this character's name again? Solstice?
Solstice, yes.
Solstice. Now does Solstice have any like special powers or
She's like a metal bender, and also she can manipulate light, but that's not as developed.
that's cool though.
Yes, it is.
So I was gonna ask again if the butterfly was special, but I just know you like
great.
butterflies. No, that's awesome. Such bright colors too for a bounty hunter. Love it. All right, now who do we have here? This one is very interesting to me. I would love to know who this is.
This is a character design I made forever ago. Her name is Lacey, and she's a forest nymph.
Yes.
And also a Decora girl, which is like a type of fashion.
Okay. I was gonna say I know Hiroshiku girls, but this is something different for me. I love this. So, are her limbs actually wood?
Yes, and they can extend outwards.
Okay. Very cool. Love that. And what kind of role does she fulfill?
She's kind of just like a random character, to be honest. Like I just like designing characters, so sometimes they're just sort of random.
Hey, I'm all for it. All right, now I'm not gonna say who this reminds me of until after you explain who this is, but there's definitely like someone that pops into my head immediately when I saw this. So who is this?
Her name is Lilia, and she is the future daughter of one of the main characters.
Okay.
Who does she remind you of?
Okay, so this not in any way to be like bad, but this reminds me of Buttercup from Powderpuff Girls.
She does. She kind of has a similar personality, actually.
Okay, cool. I was just gonna toss that out there because like looking at this, I was like the green eyes, the black hair. I'm kind of getting it. So all right. Good to know I wasn't too far off. All right, now who's this?
This is a princess named Minerva. And
love that name.
Yeah, it's a pretty name. She's just like this cutesy little. She's the childhood friend of Equinox, and she's adorable.
Yeah. Now I notice. Is that a scar on her cheek?
Yes, it's a scar.
Oh, is that part of like the backstory?
Honestly, I just put it in because it looks cool, and it's kind of a running joke that she keeps lying about how she got it.
Yes. Okay, so your comics are very much more light humor than like a serious like we're gonna go get the goblins and we're gonna.
Yeah, there's a lot of humor in it. I mean, there are serious moments, but I try not to take it too seriously.
Okay.
Similar to, I guess, how Sailor Moon was.
Good.
Just a lot of humor.
Love that. I was gonna say, like, I mean, comics definitely, like we said earlier, reach that nerve. Like we watch things and look at things and like, oh yeah, this is fun. And then looking at it deeper, there's like, oh yeah, that connects with me. Like if there's that level of like, something actually deep is happening there. So cool. Oh yes. Now who is this?
This is Cassandra. She's Equinox's sister, and she's this bookish, sarcastic friend of the group.
Yes, bookish. So she learns all her spells from books. She's a wizard.
Yes.
I love that.
She's just so sarcastic and like really like she will destroy you with her words. She doesn't even know to lift a finger.
So is she an actual magic user, or is she just like?
I mean, in this world, everyone has magic, but some people have actually developed that trait rather than just, I have it. So she's definitely developed it. She's probably the most powerful person in the group because of that.
All right. Cool. I dig it. Yeah, she's cool. Oh, all right. Okay. So I see one character we already know, but who's the other character on the other side?
That's Minerva's older sister, who is in line to rule the country that they live in.
Oh, I love your take on the crown here too.
Yeah, I wanted it to look like lollipops.
Ah, very fun. Okay, I get that definitely. Yeah. I love the detail that you put into this one specifically. Like that outfit. What's the older sister's name?
Lucina.
Lucina. Uh that outfit is something that I would see in an anime. I love that. Like I would love to see someone cosplay that. That is a cool outfit.
Yeah, it took me a while to design that one actually, so I'm very proud of how our outfit came out. And
Good,
you
you
can only
should
see the
be.
top half, unfortunately.
I need more. I need so much more. No, that's cool. I love that. Wow. How long does it take you to do these?
It depends on like if I'm doing digitally or traditionally, but it usually takes me like at least a full day, if not a couple.
Okay. Just to do the one picture or
Just to do the one picture. I'm a
okay.
very slow drawer, to be honest.
I mean, hey, you put in so much detail as we can see here, and like stylistically, it looks great. Hello, nurse. Is that an anime? Is that an Animaniacs reference?
Yes.
Yes, one of my favorites. Hello, nurse. Uh, all right. This is another character, obviously.
It's actually the same one from earlier. Her name is Solstice.
Oh, that is
She's
Solstice.
she has her big blonde hair.
Is
I like to draw her a lot. She's very pretty.
is Solstice a nurse?
No, she's just cosplaying.
Oh,
It's actually the nurse costume is actually taken from again the Sailor Moon anime,
okay.
where one of the characters dresses up.
I love that. Okay, I was just wondering. I was like, wait a second. Did Solstice? I see that it's Solstice now. So I was like, I thought she was a bounty hunter. I wonder if this was like an outfit that she was like sneaking in to like somewhere to like trick somebody to catch them. This was a whole. I developed a whole entire plot line based off of this one outfit. I might need to see this developed now. I'm invested. No, that's great. Oh, and who are these? Who's this? Who's these two?
These aren't well. One of them is a character from an anime, and the other one is my friend. She commissioned me to draw this for her.
Cool. So you do you do commissions?
Occasionally, I do. I'm kind of still figuring out how to do it properly online. If that, yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's hard. It's a hard thing to do, but definitely like this is really cool. It's like to think like, hey, you like do people like if I asked you to do a commission of me next to somebody, would you do that?
Sure. As long as I had enough photo references.
I will get you photos. No, no, I mean that's awesome. Just to, like have that side by side comparison, you know, like oh, this is me, but now I'm in a fantasy world. That's really cool. I know we were talking earlier too about D&D, right? So I know for me, um, I would love to see like my characters drawn out in combat or something, you know, because it's so interesting. Like all this stuff happens in your head to put it out there and actually have like a visual representation of what my character looked like. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm actually for my D&D group, I actually like designed everyone's characters just because I was so invested in everything. They were just kind of very messily drawn sketches, but I mean, I love designing characters, so
I that's awesome though. That's so cool that you like made that investment and like drew everyone's characters. Did they ask you to, or is it just kind of like a
no, I just did it. I asked everyone like send me a description of your character so I can draw them, and we went from there.
cool? I love that. So here's a quick question since we're kind of talking about things. Why did you choose Instagram over like other platforms to release your comics and stuff?
I mean, I am on other platforms, but I think
Oh,
I definitely gravitate more towards Instagram, or at least in the beginning more, because I mean, a lot of people are on there, and it's an image sharing website, so it just kind of made sense.
yeah. I mean, that's cool. Like, what other platforms are you on?
I'm on DeviantArt, out on Tumblr and Twitter, all the big ones. Um,
Sure. Just hitting it all up. Yeah. So like when you share to one, do you just like simul share to all of them?
yeah, pretty much. Not so much on DeviantArt anymore, simply because I don't like the layout change, but I can't figure it out.
But
Everything looks
isn't
so different.
but isn't that so like so important? Like you need to like the way your art is presented is just as important as the art itself, right?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, like if you had a great piece of art, but it was like hanging in a poorly lit corner of your room, like this is my favorite piece of art. Come on now.
I think that's something that like I'm in the art mentorship with Tina Linville at the yeah. So I think that's something that like I'm kind of learning more how to present a piece of art. That's something that we've kind of talked about and that like I've gotten critiques on last time we did it.
Cool. So tell me more about this art mentorship. What is this program and what is it all about?
It's kind of just about like gathering a bunch of artists and like like and just like talking to each other and getting invested in the community and like growing and learning from each other. It's kind of like what we make it almost.
Interesting. And you found some real growth there?
I feel like we're still kind of like we've only met 3 times so far, but like I feel like even those 3 times like I'm thinking about stuff in a way that I hadn't before.
Cool. How has that influenced your art?
I mean, I think I'm thinking more like as I just said about presentation, especially
Okay.
like traditional pieces. And I think like what I want to do with my art in the future and where I'm going with this
Yeah.
and like printing and all that stuff, like it's opened up a different world for me.
That's awesome. Obviously like that's more like art focused. So it really isn't affecting your story, but is it affecting your style at all or
Not right now, but maybe in the future.
and this is one of the more recent comics that you've drawn, correct?
Yes, I actually drew this for the mentorship, one of our critiques.
Okay. Okay. So this is some and what happens during your critique? Do they just kind of like give you feedback on it
Yeah,
or
like everyone puts their art out and we all kind of like we go to one art and one piece and we go to the other piece and we just kind of like everyone says their thoughts on it and like what we think about it and what it is and it's pretty fun to be honest.
awesome? Yeah. I mean, I think that's so important. And I think it's great that you're open to feedback like that to be able to increase your style and um, do they give comments on the story at all or is it just like just the
Yeah,
art itself?
for this one because it was like a 6-page comic, this is only the first page. They did give some feedback on the story.
Okay.
It's interesting hearing everyone's different perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. I was actually going to ask about that. So like you have a art mentorship program that's kind of focused on like the technique of like the art itself. What about like the story side of this? Have you uh, had any mentorship programs on that or like learning how to create that story or like flush it out?
Um, no. Like I've never gotten like specific instruction in how to create a story. It's just something I've always liked to do.
Cool.
I mean even like if I couldn't draw at all, I think I would want to become a writer and make novels.
Oh, you just have like that vision in your head that you just need to put out there somehow.
Yeah, I love writing stories. I've always have ever since I was a kid.
And it's just a blessing that you can draw also.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I was curious. Like you have you're obviously developing the art side. I was wondering if there were any avenues that you saw to develop the story side, you know?
I
So
mean,
that's
I think just consuming like different
mm,
medias and like TV shows and books and everything has helped my writing a lot just by
cool.
example.
Yeah. You just find you take from a lot of those stories and just kind of grab.
Yeah.
Not I mean, and not even that you need training in these types of things, right? Like we see plenty of people who rise without such things. I think it's just interesting to kind of see where we pick and choose, because I know I don't take training for every little thing that I do, but Lord knows when it comes to like dancing for myself, I'll take all the training that I can get.
I guess it just depends on like what we're invested in and what we need help in, you know?
Yeah, but you feel like your story is solid and you're going places with it. You have a clear process still.
Like writing wise, I feel like I'm set.
Cool.
Like not to say like I'm some kind of genius or anything, but like I know what I'm doing on that side of things.
That's awesome. No, that's great. Hey, maybe I'll ask you for help on my D&D story that I'm writing then. Get your insight, because Lord knows I don't have the middle bit.
Middle bits are always the hardest.
It's the hardest. It also is gooeyest when you're cooking something, right? The middle bit's never cooked well enough.
It's like I have an awesome ending, but
right?
I don't know how I got there.
No, but I think it's really cool to look at your art and just kind of see how like comics have like lived and grown through all of this. Because people are getting newspapers and stuff, but it's kind of cool to see like the different avenues that you can reach out to and put out art. Because I know I have friends that just have straight pages of just Instagram art, and it's just their art. But I see yours, and it's full on stories and art to go along with it. So it's kind of cool that you have that venue to just release your art on.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like you could do like a show with all your art? Do you have like pictures that like you could like put up as like a full gallery show?
I feel like that's kind of like the end goal for the mentorship, if I understand it right. So maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I know, you're obviously the mentorship is through YubaSutterArts&Culture. So, if you have something to eventually display, if we even like blew up maybe your comics and put them on display in like frames or something, I think that'd be kind of cool, and like lay them out in story form so that people could just walk by and read. What is, tell me about this picture right here.
This was created, I think, like during the first week of quarantine, to be honest. So
looking out the window, I feel that in my soul.
Yeah, that's pretty much the whole story behind this one.
Okay. No, I love it. No, it's great. It's not, is it one of your characters, or is it just
it's just a random person?
Yeah. And this one too, I love this one personally. Like I would use this in a D&D game. Just to scare
this is honestly one of my favorite pieces that I've done.
Yeah. Is there any story behind it or inspiration?
Well, originally, like I was thinking of a comic idea around this, and I just kind of gravitated towards one of the singular panels that I was thinking of. And this is it. I blew it up, and I just made it into an illustration instead. And I feel like it kind of tells everything it needs to say on its own.
Yeah. No, I love it. Honestly, I might steal that for my game just to scare my players so much. No, these have been great. Is there anything else that you want to share about your art, and like just like in general, like where first off, let's share your @ on Instagram. What's your where can people find your art at?
It's Sinclair 8 with a K instead of a C.
Perfect. All right, Sinclair, love that. Yeah. People that are watching, please take a look at these comics. I read through a few of them and I think it's so much fun. And it's always nice to just have a quick peek into a comic for a day and kind of get a look into that. So we're almost done here, Ash. Thank you for your time today. It's been great. But before we go, there is something that we do like to ask all of our guests. It is the James Lipton 10 questions. As you know, James Lipton ran the Actor Studio in NYC for many years. So before we leave, here are the 10 questions he asked of the guests interviewed on his Inside the Actor Studio program. What is your favorite word?
I would say it's probably something like resonate because I like the sound of the R in there.
Yeah. Oh, the resonation in the R of resonate. What is your least favorite word?
um, Probably moist. It just sounds gross.
You're not alone on that one. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
I think just like humor.
Yeah, I love that. What turns you off creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Um, this is a hard one, but maybe I guess like taking myself too seriously.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's that's a lesson for all of us right there. We could expand on that for a while. What is your favorite curse word?
Fuck.
Yeah, go for it. What sound or noise do you love?
The sound of rain on a roof.
Mm, a tin roof or just like any roof?
Just any roof. It sounds nice.
Love that. What sound or noise do you hate?
Uh, when you rub a balloon, just the screechy kind of.
Oh, yeah. I hadn't thought about that really, but thank you. Now that sound is stuck in my head.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I will survive somehow. I'll have to listen to some very calming music after this. What profession, other than your own, would you like to attempt?
I've always been interested in like woodwork. I think it looks really cool. Maybe it'd be cool to like be a person that makes furniture.
Oh, okay. Now this is kind of breaking the rules of asking these 10 questions, but I'm going to ask another question after this. Would you perhaps do comics or your art on the woodwork?
That is a crazy question. Maybe that would be awesome.
I don't know.
If only I knew how to do that at all.
Some wood burning. I like when you said that, I was like, oh, I wonder if she would, or they would put up like their characters on there and stuff. That was my thought.
That actually sounds really cool. I've seen people who do that on Instagram, and it's so cool.
Kind of came to my head as we were doing it. Might be a future for you. All right. What profession would you not like to pursue?
The first thing that pops into my head is like customer service, but I don't think anyone wants to do that. Like,
I was there for 10 years. Let me tell you.
I am so sorry.
It's all right. No, there are good and bad sides to it. So, but I feel you. I understand where you're coming from there. Last question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
You really did it, buddy. You did it.
Yes. What a great answer. Well, thank you, Ash. Oh my gosh. It's been a pleasure talking to you and just like getting your insights on all the different types of art that inspired you and like what your art is and where it's leading to. Thank you for spending your time with us here at Arts Alchemy.
Thank you for having me. This was a great experience. I loved being here.
Oh, yay. It was so great. Please, everyone, catch all of Ash's art at her Instagram or wherever else her art is posted at Sinclair8 with a K. Always make sure to mention that. Thank you to our technical team, producer Abby Cecina and David Reed, and to our technical director, Shantae Arroyo. Hey, I forgot to mention that's Ash's sister.
Unfortunately.
There it is. Next week, we will have another special guest, Marcelo Hernandez Castillo, poet, memorist, translator, and the poet laureate for the Yuba and Sutter communities. So we are super excited for that. Until next time, this has been Artist Alchemy. Thank you all so much for watching. And again, thank you, Ash.
Thank you for letting
Bye.
me.
Yeah, of course. Bye, everybody.
Yeah.